So here's the thing. I think that there was a lot of shocking games out there, John, and I love the fact, and we discussed this last week, that there are highly ranked teams going up against highly ranked teams. I mean, the easiest one to point out is Ohio State and Texas, right? And the flop that Arch Manning was in this first start game that he had, it just didn't look good. It didn't. I mean, you watch that game and Ohio State dominated. Now, the score wasn't all that, dominating, but you watch the game, one team looked a hell of a lot better than the other, and that was Ohio State for the most part. And they had a new quarterback, and they have all these players that they had to fill all these holes. Well, they do a hell of a good job with that, and I think Ryan Day should get a lot more credit probably, John, than he gets, because everybody wants to fire him for losing to Michigan. But the reality is this guy only has a few losses on his entire record as a head coach. So I don't know. I think they might have to ease back a little bit on some of that. We also had LSU going, having a great game at Clemson. So that I think was kind of exciting. South Carolina with the coach Beamer, whose dad used to be the head coach at Virginia Tech. He took Virginia Tech out with that great quarterback that you and I were talking about just a couple of weeks ago. That kid is an animal, and he does an unbelievable job. Miami, Notre Dame, another great game. And Notre Dame came back in the fourth quarter. They almost got there, but they didn't quite get there, John. So Miami wins that one. It's one thing after another. How about Belichick in his first college game? Holy smokes. TCU said, you know what? You might have been good at New England. This ain't New England, and you don't have Tom Brady. And they were right, and they were right, because they smoked them, John, 48-14. That wasn't very pretty either. I got one that I'll throw out as a dark horse, and then you can comment on any of these things that you want, because this is a lot to talk about if we want to. But I'll give you the sleeper team of the year, Utah. They've been getting there closer and closer over time. It's a Big 12 team, really well-coached team. They always seem to be somewhere towards the end of the season where they've got a great record, and people are sort of scratching their heads about them, John. But they went over to UCLA and put a whooping on them like they haven't seen in a while. 43-10, Utah beat them. And if you want to go quarterback to quarterback, let's remember the UCLA quarterback is the Iamea Liavea, who is 11 for 22, John. He had a touchdown and interception. I'll tell you what, I think Tennessee just felt just good about how they decided not to pay him the money that he wanted. He went back to UCLA. UCLA got spanked, John. And I'll tell you what, the quarterback over at Utah, all he did was, he's 21 of 25. He had 2 touchdowns, and he ran for a touchdown. That's all he did. So I would say that he's doing pretty well. Devin Dampier is his name. He's a guy that I think over time, if he can continue this through the next few weeks, he might be one of those guys who people are going to say, hey, is this guy pretty damn good? Is this guy maybe a Heisman type guy? I mean, he's probably not. But, because he's Big 12 and all the rest of it. But I think the Big 12 is underrated. I really do. So what do you think about the big weekend, John? Anybody stand out?
Yeah, Carson Beck.
Yeah.
So, Pete, because of Carson Beck and the Miami, the U,
yep,
looks like the U of old, I'm going to say, because, Pete, it wasn't like they called the dogs off on Notre Dame. Like you say, Notre Dame came back, I think, 17 points in the fourth quarter to make a game of it. But Miami was just beating the tar out of them. And one of the reasons was Carson Beck. And, of course, some acrobatic catches by his receiving core. But for them to look this good this early on, Pete, I'm going to say Miami would be my dark horse. And Carson Beck is right at the center of that.
He is good. He's one of those guys that, you look at him, he doesn't really look the role or whatever, blah, blah, blah. But there's a reason they gave him the kind of money they gave him in NIL, John, to come down to Miami and be their quarterback. And I think he showed up pretty well against Notre Dame, who's a great team, really well coached. They got talent everywhere. They got, offensive side, defensive side, all of it. But, yeah, Miami sure did look good. Secondly, how about this? Where do we stand on the Micah Parsons thing? Here's what I mean by that. I think every left tackle in the NFC North is sort of shaken. But the one thing I'd also throw into that, John, is they paid a lot of money for a guy who apparently has sort of an issue with an injury right now that wasn't really fully disclosed, but they passed him. But they didn't really realize that. So that's one thing. Plus $180 million. I mean, that's a real number, I would say. And Was he liked on the team in Dallas? I don't know. There's a lot of people that go back and forth on this whole thing, and that doesn't really matter to me, like or not like. But it's interesting that that's part of the jabber of this whole thing. But I'll tell you, John, it's going to be really interesting to see how he plays. One thing I would point out, because he's a great rusher, he gives up the run completely. If you go back and you look at the Dallas Cowboys over the last couple of years with him in place, the teams that are really smart run right at him because he's running upfield because he wants to get sacks. He wants to get to the quarterback, and that's part of his job. But the other part is you still got to be a football player. John, they were in the bottom 5 or 6 in rush defense since he's been with the Dallas Cowboys, and I think that's part of it. So other players are going to have to make up for that for Green Bay. Everybody immediately put them as the team in the NFC that potentially could be going up with Philly, and it's Green Bay and Philly going to the Super Bowl. Slow the Jets just a little bit. I still think the 49ers look pretty damn good. I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers look pretty damn good. I think there are a number of teams. Washington still looks pretty damn good. There's a number of teams out there, John, who I think could be battling for this thing. And I didn't even say the Detroit Lions yet, so I'll say Detroit Lions as well. I don't know that this one trade made Green Bay as good as the rest of the world thinks they did.
Yeah, and you and I were, among the few perhaps that were calling for this trade.
Yeah,
maybe not the trade to Green Bay, but we said if you can get a couple first rounders and a player, and they did get a great run-stopping player, Pete, to your point about what Dallas really needed. They got that. They've got a couple first rounders, and they didn't have to give $120 million guaranteed and $180 million contract to a guy that is a great player. I don't have any issue with the way Micah has performed, but I think that the better deal was had by the Cowboys rather than the Green Bay Packers. Time will tell, but this is one area that Jerry has been really good at. Jerry Jones, of course. And when he had traded in the past and got value, as in draft picks and players, he turned it into Super Bowl wins. Mm-hmm. If he does the same thing with this one, I'm not saying he will, but if he does the same thing with this one, judge him on it next year and the year after. And the fact that he cleared all that space on the what otherwise would have been salary cap, and instead now is Green Bay's problem.
Yeah. Last thing I'll say about the whole thing, John, and I don't know if this was done on purpose or not, but Jerry at the press conference was calling him Michael, not Micah. I think it was just a little, but I don't know.